Welcome to the Point of Difference Rugby League podcast. I'm your host, Dave, and today we're going back in the day with one of our Kiwi legends. He played for Canterbury and South Sydney over in Australia, as well as the Queensland competition. It's the one and only Bernie Lowther. How are you, man?
Jeez, Dave, I'm good now. It's been a bit of fun this morning, hasn't it? No, all good, mate. Yeah.
Trying to get the technology set up so we can have a bit of chat.
I'm not coming back to do it again, Dave. I'm not getting old. I mean, the old technologies. I'm not up to speed with that really, but anyway, we're here.
It's all good, mate. You've done it. It's great to have you on the show, mate. You know, one of the Kiwis from the early 70s, man. That's bloody fantastic. What are you doing with yourself? Where are you living? You know, what's Bernie up to these days?
Well, Bernie still plays a lot of golf.
Yes.
And I go to the gym 3 days a week. And I'm involved in a organisation called FIGS over here in Australia. And we raise money for the juniors, the grassroots of the game. We don't actually give them money. We give them like footballs, tackle pads. So that way no one can come back and say, well, you're robbing Joe or you're robbing Peter to play for all that sort of stuff. So no one can get caught out. We set clubs up with football jerseys and stuff like that. Referees the same, junior referees. We set them up with their shirts, and so it keeps us pretty busy. But it keeps me in touch with a lot of guys that I wasn't lucky enough to play with or against, like Kurt Sorensen's on our committee, Wiz, Gary Freeman, Larry Carlaw. We've got Darryl Williams. We've got a lot of blokes that are past Kiwis, past Australian players, and it keeps me busy. I enjoy it. It just keeps me involved. That's all I want. It's very good. And we do raise money, and we have golf days and guest speakers and that sort of stuff. And we're looking at a golf day this year. And we're going to try and have an international team. So we've got a Kiwi team playing. We've got Eddie Heatley. He's playing part of the Kiwi side. Gary Freeman, myself, and we'll play. We've got 4 club sides, and we've got an Australian side, hopefully. So just a way of old fellas keeping together and having a bit of fun, So it's you're only here once, so you got to make the most of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Oh, that's so fantastic. Yeah, you're doing heaps of good stuff in your retired age. So let's reverse time now and go back to the beginning, mate. Where did you grow up, and what was that little journey to start your rugby league career?
I grew up in Waterview in Auckland.
Uh-huh.
I was born in 50. I started playing in 54. 55 with a club called Avondale, who no longer existed, or they haven't existed. I think 55 was the last year, and then I went to Richmond, and that's where my dad played for. He played for Richmond. My brother, who came along later, he played for Richmond. So Richmond were very good to me. That was the journey. That's how it started, and I was just a rugby league freak, I guess, but I had a lot of support from home, which was what you needed back then.
Yep. So what was it like playing rugby league in New Zealand at a young age? Like, did people encourage you to play rugby league? Was there that divide between league and union back in those days?
I used to get the cane every Friday because I wouldn't play union for the school. So... But I played league. I was never interested in rugby. I grew up rugby league, and I stayed there. I guess it's just inbred, just born in you. You know what I mean? Like, I loved it. I loved footy. And I think in those days, there was a lot of young guys in the street, a lot of people went in those days, and we used to play footy at the park, it wasn't touch football, it was still tackle. And you might have been playing against guys 3 or 4 years older than you. You might have been playing against guys that were 3 or 4 years younger than you, sort of thing, So there was a good mix. And I think that's how we learned how to play and learn our skills in the game. I think today, I think in those days, volunteers were fantastic, football clubs. You know, you had parents involved, you had ex-players involved, you had players that were still playing involved and coaching and young guys and bringing them up through the grades. And I think, especially at Richmond, like you sort of started playing, you went up through the grades, you looked at the guys ahead of you, and no one was above anybody. We all sort of all worked together. We all worked in the one direction. You know, I wanted to play senior football, and, you know, I wanted to play for New Zealand. So that was always a goal of mine. And I was lucky enough it happened. So, but they were good days. I feel sorry for kids. I've got grandkids now, and I feel sorry for them because it's just not the same. You understand, like I go down and watch them every Saturday, and but it's different. It's just a different culture now to what it was back in the good old days. But you know, it's changed. But I think where we were lucky, guys from my era, we grew up in a good era. You know, football wise, like you know, like I played against Kenny Sterling, played with Kenny Sterling, but those guys we grew up playing against each other from a very young age. So, you know, Eddie Heatley's and all these guys, like we all played against each other. You know, Otahuhu, Northcote, Richmond, North Shore. It was great. You know, it was, and you made a lot of good mates, and we're still mates. You know, so and that's the good thing about it. You know, that's the good thing about it. We were born in an era where we brought up with respect. Yes. And you know, you weren't allowed to your feet really weren't allowed to leave the ground, if you know what I mean. You had older blokes knock around you, knocking it out of you real quick. So you could talk differently to players in our day than you can today.
Okay. So interesting. So when you sort of started your days at Richmond Rovers, you know, I believe there's a story you had a bit of a broken wrist and half the Premier side got wiped out with the flu. And I think you got called in to sort of make is that your Prem's debut?
Yeah, that's how it happened back in '69. I played a trial game and I broke my scaphoid bone. So I was in plaster for 3 months. And it's still broken. It's never healed.
Okay.
And so I was lucky. I trained with the broken wrist and the plaster. I'd still train and I just wrap plastic around the plaster and continue. And then Snow Northern, who was the coach of Richmond then, Snowy, he rang my dad and said, you know, would you let Bernie play premiers this week? And my dad, he said, yeah, why not, you know. So I played, and we played Mount Wellington at Mount Wellington. I marked a former Kiwi international, Doug Elwood. And, yeah, that's how it all started. So I often wondered if I hadn't have broken my wrist, where I would have been, you know. So, I was lucky. I wanted to play in the sixth grade side that year, and because we'd come through together for a lot of years. But, yeah, and I could understand the situation where, you know, they'd had blokes training and playing all year that got them to where they were. So I understood all that. But to come and go and play premiers, that come right from left field, you know. So I was chuffed. I shit myself. I must admit I was, you know. But it was good, you know. It was, and I played with some great guys at Richmond, you know. You know, not only did we have a good coach in Snowy, but we had Ray Williams, Ivan Ersic, who nurtured me through my early career. Like for the 2 years I played there, he was my centre partner, or I was his centre partner, and he's a wonderful person. I owe a lot to him because he looked after me and nurtured me on and didn't let me get into too much trouble and didn't, you know, give me the ball when I thought I needed it. So that was good. But we were a good side then, you know. We had Brucey Buchan and 5'8", and Alan Hoskins at halfback. that year we won the Root Rooster. Excuse me. So that was, and hadn't won the Root Rooster for a while. So that was good. And then one thing led to another after that, and yeah, it all sort of went pretty quick from there for a while. So it was
yeah.
I look back on it and I think how lucky I was. I guess being in the right spot at the right time. But yeah, so yeah, it was good. And I got a couple of tours. I got a World Cup in '70, and I got to tour in '71. So it was good. It was great. Excellent.
Absolutely, man. So from those premiership days, you went to make the Auckland side. What did it mean back in your day to make your provincial side? Because Auckland was obviously the kingpins. Like it was an era where provincial selection was probably the pinnacle underneath the Kiwis, like in New Zealand. So how massive was that in your day?
I got to play. My hero was a guy called Roger Bailey. I grew up idolising Roger Bailey, and I got to play with him for Auckland, and I also got to play a test match with him. So, it was great. It's just another chapter in your life. The goal was to play senior football. I got to play for Auckland. I got to play against Johnny Raper. He come over with a New South Wales countryside, and he was at the end of his career, and I was just starting. But I can say I got to play against Johnny Raper. But yeah, they were good days. We had good coaches. Neville Dent was, I think, our coach those days, and he was an exceptional footballer and a very good coach. So, as I said, you just picked up things through different guys, and different. But I thought it was great. I guess we were lucky in those days because they picked Auckland sides all the way through as you come through the grades. Okay. So to go into senior football or premier football and play for Auckland was something else because Big Henry was there, Robert Orchard, there was wonderful players, just wonderful players. Roy Christian. So, it's just Johnny Daggs from Mount Albert. There were some good players in those days, and the depth was strong, Auckland was, we used to go down and play Canterbury, or we used to play Waikato at Huntley. They were good trips. I went down on the Waihi the day before it sunk went to an outward bound school that picked it. Yeah, so, but, the Waihi, we used to get on the Waihi in Wellington and go down to Canterbury, and then we'd play Canterbury on the Monday, then fly home back to Auckland. Yeah, no, it's good. They were great days, but you'd never swap them. I feel people today will never experience that. It was just wonderful, wonderful. And to be around super players. But, there was a lot of good players. It didn't matter where you come from. The Auckland Canterbury games were no walkovers. Waikato Auckland were bloodbaths. It was rivalry. It was good stuff. And you had Mary Pacquiao games in those days. And they were. Yeah, you dreamt of playing in a Mary Pacquiao game. I got to play in a couple. So, but Carlaw Park, the Field of Dreams, it was just great era. Very lucky person.
That's very amazing, man. What was what were the crowds like? Because we didn't have Wi-Fi, we didn't have internet. Very few people probably owned TVs. There was no Sky, there was no coverage. What were the crowds like back in the 70s and earlier?
Awesome. Yeah, they were great. Like Carlaw Park. Carlaw Park just had a great atmosphere. And even if you played like at Cornwall Park or we never played football at Grey Lynn Park in those days for Richmond, only juniors, not seniors, but the grounds always 4 or 5 deep around the grounds. Sometimes in a way, Carlaw Park. I used to love going there when I finished playing football. Like when you played schoolboys or junior football, we used to either go to the movies or go to Carlaw Park. You used to have the matinee sessions at the pitches. But in the winter we used to always go to Carlaw Park. I'd get the bus in from from Waterview into the city, and then, you know, we'd walk over to Carlaw Park, and yeah, it's something else. I don't do it today, but it was just something else. And it was always, you got match of the day at Carlaw Park. It was unreal. I love playing there. It was just, yeah, it was a sensational space, a sensational atmosphere. But even if you played on number 2, it was still great atmosphere, you know.
Yep.
People used to line up around the picket fence, and it was something that blokes will never experience today, because it was only one Carlaw Park, and footy in those days was really good, and it was strong, and it was passionate, and it was, you know, dog eat dog sort of thing, you know, and always had a beer with guys after a game. So that was good. You know, once the game was over, it was always at the Station Hotel or up at the Leagues Club. It was always a beer between the two sides. So can't ask for any more than that, can you? They don't do it today. That's the problem.
So, speaking of Carlaw Park, you had a very special win over Australia in 1971. Well, you played for Auckland. They had Bob Fulton, Ray Brannigan, Wayne Bennett, Tommy Raldonicus, Bob McCarthy in their side, and you got a 15-14 victory. Like, what are your memories of playing those blokes and getting one over Australia, mate? Far out. That's amazing.
Like that was something else. That side was. I'm just trying to think where we stayed that week. I think we might have stayed out at Epsom somewhere, and I reckon we had Australia beat on Thursday. It was just a great group of guys, and what Laurie Blanchard was good at was getting players to play to their strengths, and that day it all clicked. You know, Henry kicked 7 out of 7. We had a very, not so young, but we had some young players. We had a lot of experience. We had a lot of, and everyone gelled. It was just one of those days where we'd have beat anybody. But the side was good, and it was Kenny Sterling. I've got a video of that game actually, and I often watch it. You know, Kenny Sterling, like he must have made 100 tackles that day. You know, Roy Christian, Tony Krilitic. You know, like it was just and Henry and Robin broke his toe on the Wednesday at Les Mills Studios, and tipped and went through the door. Anyway, I can remember Bob O'Reilly and Stats trying to jump on his toe, but they got them mixed up. They kept jumping on Henry's toe. They didn't realise it was Robert, not Henry. So we got through that, and that was a wonderful experience. That was the start of it. Like, you know, 71. There's some great players in that Kiwi side. You know, like it was a great Kiwi side and a blend of youth and experience. It was it was a good side. Johnny Whittaker, great player. You know, Johnny Whittaker, he's a wonderful player, and he's no longer with us. Philip Orchard, you know, it's just there were some wonderful players in those days, and New Zealand were blessed to have a side because, you know, New Zealand was strong at rugby league in those days. And I think after we won that side, after we beat Australia and won that game, I think Eric Boggs from the 8 o'clock was a writer for the 8 o'clock, which was a Saturday night paper in Auckland.
Okay.
And I think he picked an All Black side, and I think there was 6 Kiwis in it. So he picked his side, and I think there was 6 Kiwis in that side after New Zealand beat Australia. So it was just a make-up team, but that was never heard of in those days, putting rugby league players on All Black side. So that side achieved a lot over there, because rugby was so strong, and New Zealand All Blacks have always been great sides, you know, and rugby was strong in New Zealand. But in that year, in the 70s, start of the 70s, that's when it started for New Zealand Rugby League. And, you know, they capitalised on it there for a while. You know, they got they got good sides after that. The Graham O come along and he got the New Zealand sides going. So, it was. I don't think New Zealand realised how good of players that were there in those days. There was some great players, and I guess it's when you go away and you see other players and you realise how strong New Zealand Rugby League really was, and and we proved that. So it was good, really good, and it's just not Auckland. I remember Rod Walker and Graham Cooksley and Johnny Greengrass from down Canterbury way. Actually, I seen a photo of Rod Walker the other day. He was at a reunion not so long ago down in Canterbury, and
okay.
I'd have walked past him. I wouldn't have known him because when I knew Rod, he had the long blonde locks, and I wouldn't have known him. I would have walked past him, but he was a great guy. He was a good bloke, So Mocky Brett, and great player. Mocky,
the big moustache. Yeah,
I love playing with. I love playing with Mocky. Mocky was a really good winger, and I just love playing inside him. I loved having him on the right. So, he was good. But when you go back and you think, like I've been thinking since you've spoken to me, I've been thinking about players that I played with over there, and just realised how lucky I really was. There was a good mixture of great players. A great mixture of senior players. All over New Zealand those days. Canterbury was strong, Wellington was strong, Waikato, but it's grown since then, obviously, with the Warriors and all that. So, very lucky days. I played with the best.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So what was it like in terms of, were you paid to play Provincial back in the days? Was there any incentives to play Provincial? Because you obviously had to work, you had to play Provincial League, you played for your club. Were there any match payments, or were you signed to any clubs back in the New Zealand competition back then?
I signed with the New Zealand Rugby League in 70.
Yep.
I got $5 a club win.
Okay.
I got $15 a win for Auckland.
Okay.
And $30 a win for a test match.
Okay.
Money didn't mean much then, I think the guys in that era played the game because they wanted to play the game.
Yeah.
Money was well, we never knew, it was great. I'm not knocking it, but, we'd have played 7 days a week for nothing. That's the difference between those days and these days, I know I used to play for Richmond on a Saturday, and the company I worked for in New Zealand had a rugby team. Yeah. It was like a social game on Sunday, and you go along and have a bit of a run around. You play against a lot of the leagueies, you just have a bit of a run around of rugby on a Sunday. And that's just the way it was, summer you'd play cricket. You play cricket Saturday, and then your company, the work, they have a cricket team. So you have a cricket match on Sunday. So it was, it's just bred into you in those days, money really wasn't an issue in anything I did. It was just, I was lucky enough to get some money. Nothing like they get today, but, it was, but that's what I got from the New Zealand Rugby League. So
okay.
But
nice.
Every little bit helped. Paid for my car.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your Kiwis debut, 1970 against Great Britain. First of all, how did you find out you'd made the squad, and what did it mean to you, and how did you feel that you were going to play for your country?
I'll never forget that night. We were at the Auckland Leagues Club when the side was announced, and I think about 300 people finished up at Mum and Dad's place after the Leagues Club closed. So, it was that was something else. I don't think I'll ever feel that experience again. Wonderful. It was a dream.
Yep.
It happened. The look on my parents' face was, I'll never forget. My dad should have played for New Zealand. He was a bit unlucky. he missed out on a tour through injury, but and actually Ron McGregor took his place when they went away, 46 maybe. But yeah, no, look on his face, or Mum's face, I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I was so chuffed. Yeah, it's hard to explain because it was just so surreal, you know, like yeah, you dreamt of it.
Yep.
And it happened. And, you know, as I said, started off at the Auckland Leagues Club and finished up at 6th Avenue Street, Waterview, with about 300 people in a 2-bedroom state house, you know. So a lot of people there. Spilled out onto the backyard, into the garage. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it's great.
Wow.
And it was one of those nights that brought everyone together. It was just, yeah, it was good. Yeah, really awesome.
That's so cool, man. So, how nervous were you for the big game? Were you confident? Were you nervous because you had guys like Doug Lawton, you had Mal O'Reilly in the pub side? So, how did you mentally prepare and get up for this massive game for you?
I think, you know, like because they were a good side. That Tommy side that year was probably the last of the decent Great Britain sides that toured. You know, I think they won the series in Australia, and they come over to us. I marked their captain, Frank Meyer.
Okay.
And in the first test, and then I missed the second test, and then I played the third test. But yeah, I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
Very nervous. Like it's all right, son, you know, but when the time actually comes, you know, you just before kick-off and that, you're thinking, shit, you know. But no, it's all you can do is go out there and play, you know. You know, it's a blur. It went pretty quick.
Yep.
But and I've got some of those highlights on the video as well. So.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So it's yeah. I think initially when I walked out on the Carlaw Park, I thought, shit, you know, this is good. But you know, I think I was shitting myself a little bit again, you know. But you know, once you get the ball and have a run and things like that, it's just another game of footy. But yeah, no, it was very special. And you know, later on I got to play with Doug Lawton. You know, he came over and played at Canterbury, and he just died actually, Dougie. So, but he was a great man. And I used to work with Phil Lowe in Sydney, so got to be good mates with a lot of the Pommy boys, Kippy Watson, Tommy Bishop. I still see Tommy. And Tommy's in his 80s now, but you know, Tommy's in a home. But yeah, we still see each other and that sort of stuff. So. I say, like the comradeship you made in those days out of playing football, and it's just something else, you know. Like, rugby league's given me a lot, but I've made some friends through rugby league. Like, it's just sensational. It's sensational, and that's what I say. I keep going back to the era I played in. You know, like completely different today. You know, but it was good. It was really good, Dave. Like you've got to be there, and you know, like I sort of I played with Brian Lockwood. He from that English, he was a Pommy that came over. But you made friends for life. Yeah, until they died. They've only just died recently, but we were still in contact. You know, through Facebook and what have you. And yeah, no, great. No, I keep going back to it, but that's the best era of football. I'm glad I played when I did. So it's good. It's good fun.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. No, it was a bloody fantastic era. I love sort of hearing the stories and just what it was like back in those days. Obviously, I was born in the sort of mid-'80s, so you know it's just such a time before my generation. You know, like
yeah. Oh, it was great. Like I can remember when I first started watching. You know, like. I watched guys like Sammy Edwards and Mung Amory and Joe Radimer and these guys. You know, so they were legends of the game. You know, Ron Auckland, Gary Phillips, you know, Brian Reedy. They were sensational players. You know, absolutely. You know, and you'd go to Carlaw Park just to watch them. But it was like Tommy Hadfield on the wing, North Shore, and blokes like Tommy Baxter and Cliff Johnson from Richmond. Like they were big men and they were good footballers. It was just great. It was just a passion, and a passion grew to a dream, and then the dream actually happened. So yeah, it was pretty lucky. As I said it before. Like I was lucky to come up in the era I did, and I'm glad. I'm really glad because, as I said, I've made friends for life, and we're all getting old now, and a lot of them are not well, and that's the disappointing thing. But that's the only guarantee we've got, isn't it? One day we're all going to go. So just some are going quicker than others at the moment. But I've had a wonderful. Well, I'm really happy with the career I had. I got to play for my country. I got to come to Australia, and I've been here ever since. So there's times that I was pissed off with New Zealand Rugby League, but that's history now. Time heals all wounds, but that's just the way it is. But I wouldn't swap anything, to be honest.
No, brilliant. I bet you wouldn't swap this out. We're going to talk about the 1971 victory over the Kangaroos, 24-3 victory for the Kiwis. I think you put your winger John Whitaker away for a try, with a strong run, and how special is it to get a really rare win over the topside Kangaroos, playing for the Kiwis. It didn't happen very often back then. I bet that was a special day.
No, it didn't. They beat us in the World Cup 47-11 in 70 at Wigan. So that was the next. I played that day too, and that was that was a lesson we got. But as I said to you earlier, I think that was such a good side in 71. And everyone that week, I honestly thought we had the game won on Thursday. That's how confident, not cockiness, just the way how we had a great week together, training wise, and then just the day of the match, everyone just worked together. And I can remember putting Johnny Whitaker away. I can remember that.
Yep. Nice.
I remember back in Mocky up there towards the end of the game, but Mocky made a big run and threw the ball behind me. Otherwise, I might have scored a try. But anyway, that's the way it goes. It's one of those things. But we had a good side. But the side was very level-headed. We had some good senior players, like some good Gary Willard. He was like a rock at 5'8". He was good. Roy was great. Roy and I played the centres for a couple of years, and we had a good relationship there. And then you had two good wingers. You had Mocky, Johnny Whitaker. Mike McLennan played well at fullback.
He did too. Yes.
So, it's just like Tony Cruz. I don't think I ever saw Tony have a bad game. He was very, very good footballer, very fit. Called a spade. That's what I liked. If you weren't doing the job, you wasn't afraid to tell you. So a lot of guys take offence to that. A lot of guys appreciate it. So I appreciated Blake telling me where I was going wrong. So the only way to learn. So I figured but I was young and nervous. I'm not going to hide from the fact, but we got through it, and you moved on to the next game, and the more games you played, the more confidence you got. So we had good sides then. I can't stress enough how good New Zealand Rugby League was then. Across the park, and New Zealand Rugby League had some wonderful players, some really good players, and then that continued to follow through. You had your Mark Grahams comes through. It was you had an Auckland side there that beat everybody one year.
That's right. Yep.
I'm not sure what year that was now, but
Australia, I think it was 77. They beat Australia, Great Britain, and France in the space of 20 days.
So we played we played Australia on the Saturday, and then we backed up for Auckland and played Australia again on the Tuesday. And we beat them. The Auckland side beat them, I'm not sure, 16-15, or it was tight. But actually, I marked Wayne Bennett that day.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, so as I said, guys in those days would have played for nothing, and most of us did, so it was, but, I just think we had to work, we played footy, we did something we loved, we learnt respect and all that, so I'm quite happy with it.
Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. Now, in that test, you played against John Sattler, was in that match. One of the great South Sydney legends, obviously. But he was also, captain of the Souths. They won 4 premierships in a row going into that test series. So, how massive was it to come up against him? But also, what are some of the players you admired, say, from the Australian competition that you got to come up against?
Sats is a great man. I have a lot of respect for Sats, and my grandson plays with his grandsons down the coast, so I get to see his grandsons regularly.
Okay.
But Sats was a wonderful person. Like I was lucky enough to play at South, and I'm still good mates with Bob McCarthy.
Wow.
Well, Gary Stevens has just passed, and Paulie Sate and I were good mates. Sate's gone now, but there were some real characters in those days. South had wonderful sides. I played at Canterbury, and I played with a New Zealander who helped me a real lot. It was Billy Noonan.
Oh, yes.
When I first went to Canterbury, Bill Noonan was there, and great man, Billy. Billy went too early too, but he took Henry and I under his wing, give us a little bit of a heads up what to expect over there, and so they were very tight, the guys. The guys you played with in Australia were very tight. If one went somewhere, we all went somewhere. You know what I mean? So we were a very tight outfit. Like Mondays at South, we'd all meet about 10 o'clock, up past 10 at Giles's, which was at Coogee Bay. We'd have a hot sea bath and then go and have a dip in the ocean and then come over. The sea bath was good. It used to get the cuts and all the shit out of your cuts and, all that from the day before. And then you'd go down and have a swim in the sea pool, and then you'd go across the Coogee Bay, have 4 or 5 schooners and go home. So, but, it was, we religiously every Monday we did that, and it was good, We all worked, so you had to sort of work yourself around it, but, and I played under Clive Churchill when I was at South, and what a great person, what a great man, like super coach, like a great man. It was different to home, but they were. I just, friends are friends, and and we all got on well at Richmond, like everyone's sort of much the same, but it was really brought to me, opened my eyes when I got to Sydney, because I didn't really know what to expect. But Canterbury were a great club to play for, and those days all the boys were together, whether you played third grade, reserve grade, or first grade. You're trained together pre-season, everybody. And then, you'd all have, we'd get there, everyone would get there to watch the third grade game, and then you'd watch the reserve grade game to half time, then you'd go down the sheds and start preparing for your game. So, but, the players were great guys. They were, I didn't know really what to expect when I got there, but when I got over here, but great guys. Eric Sims was a champion bloke, I used to remember practicing kicking goals with him, like he'd kick a ball from anywhere. But he would spend, in those days, hours just kicking. kicking a football, you know, whether it was a drop kick, whether it was a punt, whether it was a goal kick. You know, I used to do a lot of sprint training in those days. And, you know, I used to do a lot of sprint training and we'd run against folks like Bobby McCarthy. And, you know, so it was just, Mac is a good bloke. Mac is still alive and looks well. And, yeah, I try to go down to as many reunions as I can. But, yeah, no. And I find I was at Canterbury earlier in the year reunion and I got to meet a lot of the younger guys.
Okay.
Like the guys that played probably in the 80s and 90s. And it was bloody good. I loved it. You know, they were really good guys. Made you feel welcome and they looked after us old blokes, you know. So it was, yeah, good. It was
brilliant.
The culture. That's really the culture of how it was at Canterbury and the South. South were a great family club. You know, we'd have a game, and we'd all go to dinner afterwards. We'd have a few beers, go to the Chinese restaurant at the club, and then go back to someone's house with the wives and kids. And you know, it was good. It was very family orientated, which makes life a lot easier for you at home. You know what I mean? So it was really, really good. But wonderful players. I got to know John Sattler really well. Sats was one of the all-time. He's the best publican I've ever met. I took sides away that I coached, and I took him down the coast, and I'd take him to Sats's pub, and Sats would come out, and first thing he'd do is put 10 jugs on the table.
Yep.
And sit there, boys. That's my shout. You have a good day. But he had the boys staying there. You know, like he said, you're going to go in for half an hour, you'll be there for a couple of hours. You know, so great publican, the best publican I ever knew. He never waited for a job. He never waited for a drink at the bar when Sats was working. So no, as I said, it was different but enjoyable. And yeah, as I said, it was a lifestyle that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
With those clubs, and the clubs definitely did look after me, which was you know, which was great. You know, so I didn't get homesick. So I got put with a family at Canterbury, and they were great people, and they were in the hotel game. Yeah. So I learnt how to be like a publican. I learned how to be a cellarman. I learned how to run a drive-in. I learned how to pour a beer. Yeah, so it was good. You know, I got some good jobs. I didn't have many jobs, but I was never out of work. And it was good. And I grew up. I probably grew up when I went away in '71, but certainly when I got over there on my own, I tasted having to grow up. You know, so but it was. Don't regret it. Great. It was great days. I couldn't have gone to two better clubs, so that's why I look at it. Awesome players.
So how did you end up at Canterbury after obviously playing for the Kiwis, and I believe you got injured, but then you ended up at Canterbury-Bankstown, but I heard you were also potentially going to move to the UK and signed with Wigan. So. And with the whole New Zealand Rugby League sort of owning the players and not being able to play in Australia and play for the Kiwis, how did that all watch out for you? And what was the final decision that made you go to Canterbury?
I think the final decision was that, as I said earlier, I was pretty pissed off with the New Zealand Rugby League for a long time. And but time heals all wounds. But I actually signed with Wigan. I signed with Wigan in 1971.
Okay.
For 3 years, which meant I could have played football in England, then come back and play football in New Zealand. It wouldn't have affected anything. I could have, if I was good enough, I could have still played for New Zealand. And you know, that's as far as I thought. I signed a contract in England for 25 quid an away win, 22 quid a home win. What was it, £50 quid a week, and £50 a week living allowance. So that was my contract, and I had a clause in there that at the end of each season, I got a week's holiday anywhere I wanted before I came home. So that was part and parcel. But when I got home, and I had to be back in England by Boxing Day to play in the annual game against St Helens. Now, I'd signed. The New Zealand authorities followed myself, Henry Tartner, Kenny Sterling around and wanting us to sign with clubs in England.
Okay.
So I kept I did that, and when I got home, I hadn't heard anything, and I had my contract.
Yep.
I hadn't heard anything, and so I rang them, and they said, "Oh, have you got a clearance from your club?" I said, "Well, no." They said, "Have you got a clearance from the Auckland Rugby League?" The New Zealand Rugby League. I said, "No." I said, "That wasn't explained to us." I said, "You wanted us to sign, and that's the way it is. You know, I signed. I did it for you. I signed in England." Well, they stopped us from going. And that's when that happened. I was sort of said I was pretty dirty. And so I went out on a Monday night with a couple of mates of mine, and when I come home, my mum had said, "Oh, Peter Moore's rang you. He's going to ring you at 9 o'clock in the morning." I said, "Oh, who's Peter Moore?" I didn't know Peter Moore. I got this phone call, and they were from him and Bobby Hagan were over, and they were from Canterbury.
Yep.
I took them to my solicitor, who was Gerald Ryan, and I signed.
Okay.
So, and I signed for, so I think it was 8,000 a year for 3 years, 250 a win, nothing a loss. So I signed there, and when I went across, when Henry actually signed too, and so when we went across, we didn't look like we were going to be able to play. It looked like we were going to have to sit 12 months.
Okay.
And what happened was that Dennis Tuddy took
Yes.
the New South Wales, the Australian Rugby
He's
League.
the Balmain guy, eh?
Yeah, great guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
And he took him to court, and he won. So that enabled us, because I did a bit of pre-season in Australia. Then I come back thinking I was going to play in Richmond, you know. So I come back and train at Carlaw Park.
Okay.
But so we flew back over. So and then we started. That's how it all happened. Should never have happened. I'm not saying I could have played another X amount of test matches or anything like that. That's far from that. I didn't take anything for granted. So, you know, but
yeah.
I was probably dirty in the fact that, you know, you do the right thing and you sort of got shit on from a great height. So I remember Ron McGregor, you know, I got on well with Ron. You know, I couldn't hold a grudge against him forever, but he said to me once when he was in Sydney, and he said, "You've never forgiven me." And I said, "No, I probably never will." But yeah, as I said, time heals all wounds. You know, what's happened. Must happen for a reason. Yep. So yeah, but at the time, you know, like I was 21, pretty young. So
young, yeah.
I thought I was going to have 3 years in England. I loved England. Yeah, I've never been back. I've never been back since '71. So yeah, okay. So that's. But it happens, doesn't it? That's the way it goes.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's why I left New Zealand, and that's how I went from signing with Wigan to playing with Canterbury. And look, I don't. You know, I remember going to a test match at Blank Park with Billy Snowden. Remember Billy Snowden? Played halfback for the Kiwis.
Yes.
Before my time.
Way back.
He was living in Brisbane. He was living in Brisbane those days. A great guy. A lot of time for Bill. And we were at Carlaw Park. Not Carlaw, Lang Park. And New Zealand were playing Australia, and they put Shane Varley on the wing. And Shane was a halfback.
Yep.
And Neville Glover scored 3 tries. I mean, I remember walking down to the club, to the sheds, and one New Zealand official said to me, I know it was, and he turned around to me and he said, because it's blokes like you have left us in the lurch, and Billy Snowden heard it, and Billy just said, just keep going. But I wasn't quick enough to come back and have a shot at him about, well, if you'd have kept your word, I would have still been in New Zealand. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But I wasn't quick enough to think of that. So, but that hurt a bit because it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault at all. You know, I know, but that's just the way it goes. I don't regret it. I've been happy with the career I've had, and I played with the best in New Zealand, and against the best in New Zealand, and I was lucky enough to do that in Australia. So I said the era I grew up in, and I keep repeating that, was the best era of rugby league ever. Well, I used to get the rugby league week regularly, and when I came to Australia, I knew who all the CEOs were, I knew who played for who, and so that was a bit of a help. I didn't come in blind or anything like that, and then to have to go to Canterbury and have Billy Noonan, it all worked out pretty good for me. So, but I can remember the '80s. When I think about footy, I'm really happy and glad that what I did, and I did it in the era that I did it. I think it was the best era ever. So that's just my thoughts, So
yeah, for sure.
It was a completely different game. It was rugby league in those days. You had rugby league players playing rugby league. You didn't have athletes trying to play rugby league. You had all shapes and sizes in our day. You had big blokes, little blokes, fat blokes, skinny blokes. And they could all play rugby league. And that was, there was some big men in those days. They weren't, well, none of us were. A couple were, but, they're all so fit and bigger now. It's, they're just not funny. But, I enjoyed it when I played. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
I'm still here to talk about it.
I was just going to say, when you were at Canterbury, you guys made a grand final, but in your final season, but you missed the run through the playoffs. I believe the year before you'd had a top try scoring season for the Bulldogs as well. So obviously one of the highlights. And you scored 4 tries in a match against Penrith. Had an absolute blinder, but then you missed that grand final. How much did that piss you off? Doing all that work and then missing out on the big one.
I did my knee about 3 weeks before the final series, and to Canterbury's credit, that year I played the most games, and for their credit, they put me back into reserve grade to see how the week before to see how I'd go. I think we played East. I think it might have been a prelim final for the reserve grade boys. So I played and I didn't get to half time. And I couldn't do anything. It was just, you think you're good, you think you can, but no, and the following week was the grand final. So, I was at the game and it was hard, but I thought, there's always next year, but it never happened. But it was, pretty disappointing because over here, if you can play in a grand final, is it? I played in 4 when I come up to Brisbane.
Yep.
And won 2 of them. So
nice.
When you get to a grand final, it's the pinnacle over here. Grand final. I would have loved to have played that grand final, but it wasn't meant to be. But as I said, to Canterbury's credit, they did their best to get me on the park, and you can't ask for any more than that. And I couldn't do it. I tried. But I didn't last till half time. It was just a bit of a bummer. But I remember going back into the sheds. And I was pretty upset. I was pretty. I think I had a cry because I was pretty devastated because I wasn't one for getting injuries. I was, and then coming up to the biggest game of your life, I did my knee, and that sort of troubled me a little bit after that. So I never really, I still got to play and all that sort of stuff, but my knee was never the same. I've never had it operated on or anything like that, but.
Okay.
It was that was just one of those things that happened when you're playing footy, and but I those days when you played reserve grade, you come out from the number 2 stand. You didn't come out from the main grandstand, so you come out at the end of the field. And I remember going back in, and I think Stevie Corlett come up to me, give me a couple, and said, it's a cruel game, but it is a cruel game. But I remember having a cry. So
yeah,
there we go. So
all
right. I got close, but not close enough.
No. Now, also, I want to know, what was it like when you first went to Canterbury, being a Kiwi, and also when you went to the Rabbitohs? How did they treat you as a Kiwi in a time where there was very few Kiwis playing in Australia? Did you have to earn your stripes? Did they treat you differently? Did they give you a bit of stick for being a Kiwi? What was it like?
Oh, no. That was good. Yeah, it was a lot of banter.
Yeah.
A lot of, but I remember coming around the scrum one day playing for Canterbury, and we were playing South at Redfern. I come around to the blind side, sat straight from the front row, and all I could see was this big white mouth guard.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh shit, I haven't done the right thing here. But he hit me and patted me on the back and said, "Welcome to Sydney, Bernie." Thank you very much. So you got a little bit, but not nothing that's. I found the Australian guys really good.
Okay.
There was a lot of sledging in those days, and sure, everyone sledged and everyone got sledged. So you learn to live with it. And at the time when I played for the Kiwis, we beat them, so that was good. So but there was nothing. There's no spitefulness in it. It was just all good fun. And as I said, those days, if you played at the cricket ground, at the end of the game, both sides would go to the Clock Hotel, Surrey Hills, and have a beer.
Yep.
So that's how it was. And then that's how friendships were made. I still meet a lot of guys on a Tuesday down the Gold Coast. I go down and have a coffee, but there's guys that I never played with, but I played against them. There's Neil Pringle, Greg Bandera, there's Larry Corowa, Peter O'Neill, Graham Eady, Ray Price. We all had coffee, and it's bloody it's a bloody great morning, for an hour and a half. Go and have a coffee with the boys, and but that's just how we've all got in old age. We've still kept our friendships going, but I didn't play with any of those guys, and I only played against one or two of them. But that's how it goes. Sometimes you get some boys come up from Sydney. And Malcolm Cliff comes up on a regular basis, and so Sam Cutler. So you get to have a beer with most. Oh, not beer. Well, have a beer on a Saturday, but on a Tuesday it's a coffee. And sometimes there's 30 blokes there.
Oh, yeah.
Just all ex-footballers. So we take over a Tiffany's coffee shop. We take over the arcade, like it's But there'd be 30 blokes there some days, and it's bloody great fun, But that's how things are today. I love it. It's just great to still stay in touch with blokes. I'm sorry that I never got to stay in touch with a lot of guys from back home. probably the only guy I really talked to over the home now from my day was my mate Johnny Rucker. Now, John was a great player. John played for New Zealand, but he was a great player coming up through the grades. He was a really, really exceptional player. And, but there was other guys like Bruce Yango and John Manning and these guys. I haven't seen them, I suppose. I used to see a bit of Doug Tyrell, but I don't see those guys now, and that's probably the sad part. You grow up with people for so many years and then you don't see them for a lot. See, I've been here over 50 years.
Oh, really?
So, I've been, I used to go back home regularly to see mum and dad, but they've passed. So, I don't go back home as much. And, but yeah, there was a thing came up on Facebook from a guy from Canterbury, Hewison, is it? Houston or
Glenn Hewison?
What's that?
Glenn Hewison.
Yeah. He seems a really nice guy. I've never met him, but he seems like a real good bloke. And he put something up about a reunion at Canterbury, and I thought, oh, shit, I wouldn't want to go up to that. But I just didn't have enough time, enough notice. But I would have loved to have gone to that. But it's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I just figure you're only here once. A long time dead. So I try and keep around and keep fit and try and go to as many reunions as I possibly can. But, I've slowed down a bit, Dave, so I still feel okay. So, But, yeah, it'd be nice to, and that's why I like being involved with Fix, because, we get to have old players. I've often thought about trying to organise a 71 reunion, but there's not many of us left. No. Based on this side of the Tasman and the other side, like a lot of guys. I think on the 71 side, there's probably only about 11 of us left out of the 26 that went away. So I think there's probably only 11 left. And there's probably the Aussie side is, a lot of those guys a lot of them are passed. A lot of them have got Alzheimer's and dementia, so a lot of them are at home. So, that's the sad part about getting old, But as I said, it's been a very. I love the journey I've been on. It's been a real buzz, and I've met some great people. I've met you, Dave. And like I thrive on that. I do like meeting people, and I like having. I still like having a bit of fun when I can, but as I said, it's
good.
It's not as regular as it used to be, unfortunately. But still, I'm still here.
That's great, mate. So speaking of slowing down, when did you decide that it was time to hang up the boots and give the footy away? Was it a tough decision?
No, I was. It wasn't tough at all. I knew I'd had enough. I probably had enough 2 years before I did, but I hung around for another 2 years to help a really good mate of mine out who was coaching, and so I played for another 2 years, but there was no pressure on me. I just played. I just helped him out. I played with a lot of young blokes, and it was good because a lot of those young blokes turned out to be pretty good footballers, So, but yeah, that was. But I knew the time had come. It's just, and I played a lot of touch football after that, and so I kept reasonably fit, and I played touch for years. I loved it, and I played against a lot of New Zealand blokes. I went over in '87 with an Australian touch side, and I coached them actually, and then I went 1 year as a player, and then went over again, and I coached the Australian side. So the touch was good. I loved the touch in those days. But it's like everything else, it still changes, Just people come in with different ideas and makes the fun out of it. So changing the rules. But so I stayed pretty active, which I think's been a big help. I used to do triathlons. I did triathlons. Nice. For a while with my brother and a couple of mates. So I stuff I've done, I never thought I'd ever do, but I did a couple of triathlons, and you know, as I got older, I got sillier, I think. But no, I think it's probably helped me now. You know, like it's kept me fit, it's kept me reasonably. Well, I don't feel old, you know. So
Yeah.
you know, so
You only feel as old as you feel, mate. I mean, I still feel like I'm 20 and I'm 40.
Right. That's right. Yeah. I'm no good at electronics. So you've seen my effort this morning on trying to hook up this bloody computer. Like I'm hopeless on that shit. But anyway, we get by. We get by.
That's the main thing, mate. Right. So, if you look back at your career, is there any one thing that stands out above the rest?
Oh, I think getting picked for New Zealand for the very first time was a big buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big buzz, and to actually tour with the New Zealand side and probably winning games, like we beat France at the World Cup.
You did?
Which was a buzz because, you know, I think it was the first time New Zealand had done something against France. But, you know, I was lucky I had a lot of highlights. You know, I had a lot of lowlights too. But, like, I'm just grateful that I was able to do what I did. And, you know, I love the rugby league. I really loved it. I loved the comradeship. I love playing for New Zealand. I love playing for Richmond, and you know I loved it over here in Australia. So I can't complain. Sport's been very good to me,
yep.
And never made money, but nothing like they do today. And you know, but as I said, that was never a problem. I think it was just because the era we grew up in. You know, I think with the first money I made from Canterbury, I bought a unit in Sydney.
Nice.
So I was going to buy a motor car, and I thought, well, I got talked out of that. So I bought a unit, and I think I bought a unit for $19,000.
Oh wow! If only these days.
So, if only these days, yeah, because I have a mate of mine who drives past it every day. He said, you won't get any change out of $2 million. I've gone, oh, you bullshit me. Don't say that. But yeah, so I bought a unit in Sydney. I sold that and moved to Brisbane. Bought a house up here in Brisbane. And now I'm in another place. And yeah, so I guess football helped me without, I never had that problem with mortgages and stuff like that. So that
nice.
Always, but yeah. So it did give me rugby league give me everything I've got today, and so yeah, I'm grateful for that. Grateful.
Beautiful, man. Awesome. Right. Now, I ask everyone a few quick questions just to finish off, just to know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you played for Canterbury-Bankstown and South, but what NRL club do you support these days?
Well, I still follow the Doggies and I still follow the South, and I keep an eye on the Warriors.
Yes.
And because I've never followed the Broncos, I don't like the Broncos. I follow the Titans. Well, you know, they're going through the horrors. So,
yep.
But you know, I still keep an eye on the Dogs and the Rabbitohs. I'm not having much luck this year. The Dogs are going all right. The Titans are crap, and South are going through a bit of a hassle too. But pretty impressed with. I met Andrew Webster a couple of years ago down the coast. They were playing the Titans, and pretty impressed with the way the Warriors go. I know young Kane Caputi for the fullback, and I know Tanner Boyd because they played with my grandson. So I know those two, so I keep an eye on them as well. So yeah, so Tane's a good bloke and good footballer. Tane, I think it's time for them to move box that on and keep playing at fullback.
Yeah.
He's probably got a little bit more. Acceleration and
X factor.
than Nick. Yeah, he's quick, and I watched him do some wonderful things here on the coast. But yeah, got a lot of time for Tane. I think he's a good player, and he's level-headed bloke, and yeah. So, and I think Tanner deserved what he's got. Yeah, I know Metcalf has been very good for the Warriors, very good, and Tanner's probably not there for that yet, but Tanner won't let them down. He's a fighter. So they're got some good young blokes there with the Warriors.
Yeah.
Do you follow the Warriors? Yeah. They got some good young blokes. I like the couple of second rowers they got there. But yeah, I just think where New Zealand, where the Warriors have never been strong, is in the 3 and 4 jersey. They've never had the real sharp players in those positions, real quick. They've had big boys that are fairly solid in defence and all that, but they've never had the X factor out there. I don't reckon. That's just me looking in from the outside. It's a bit like the Titans. The Titans have never had a good 3 or a good 4.
Yeah,
some good forwards, but they've never had a good 3 or a good 4. Someone that can turn the game. But I don't know whether there's too many of those guys out there today. So
it's a different game now, mate.
Well, it is a different game. I probably don't watch it as much as I used to. I flick a lot now because the game to me has become boring.
Okay.
Too many rules, too many interpretations. The 6 again, I don't understand. This bunker, I don't think in all the years I've been involved in football, I don't think I've ever seen referees so bad. I don't think the game has ever at any stage had referees as bad as what they are now. And I know you can't put the sole blame on them, but I think it's time they stood up and grew up and just started making calls instead of relying on the bunker. I hate the bunker. I don't like captain's challenge. I don't like any of that. I just want guys to play footy and let the teams decide who's going to win. And that's what so I think more and more of the other is creeping in. I think referees today have got too much say on who wins the game and who runs seven. That's the way it looks like to me. It's just my opinion. But it's just, I don't think players can express themselves today, and that's where I feel sorry for players.
Yeah.
I don't feel sorry for them for making money. Like, good on them. If they make this money, good on them. But I don't think they're allowed to express themselves enough. You don't really know how good some of the players are. But under these new rules and the way the game's been interpreted today, a lot of players, they're not scared, but they're just too scared to make mistakes.
Okay.
And I just figure that if you're making mistakes, you can learn from that. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a completely different game. I don't like Volandis. I don't like Abdo. I don't like what they're trying to do with the game. We over here, I don't know where the next lot of players are going to come from.
Okay.
We're putting more teams in. It's okay. I don't have a problem with expansion. I don't know where the players are going to come from. The NRL is not putting any money into country football over here, and it's not putting any money into grassroots football over here. They tell you they are, but they're not. And it's just, that's what I worry about. Like the great game, where's our next lot of players going to come from? I see the Warriors are now going to open up a centre here. It's not far from where I am.
I read that yesterday. So
that's right in the heart of Broncos territory, Titans territory. So I just, I look at South Sydney now. I talk to guys every week from down there, and South now have got school on the Gold Coast. That's the feeder club. They've got a club in Townsville, which is the Cowboys area. So when I grew up, or when I came to Australia, junior football was so strong in New South Wales, it wasn't funny. Canterbury was strong, South Sydney was strong, Parramatta, Penrith, they always had Tigers, great juniors.
Yep.
And now they don't.
Yeah.
And they say, oh, Bernie is earning up in Queensland. I said, well, you blokes have got shitloads. No, not anymore. South's have got stuff all the way to juniors. So that's what I say. Where is the game heading, and where are we going to get our next sort of players? Like, I get the opinion that all we're doing is recycling has-beens. Blokes that should have given the game away, and they're still getting recycled. I was talking to Gary Schofield, and he said the worst thing in England now is that there's too many Australian boys and Kiwi boys over there playing. Not enough of their own coming through the grades. So it's not only happening here in this part of the world, but it's happening in England. Like France used to always have footballers. They got none now. So it's been 20 years since we've had a kangaroo tour. That's 2 decades since we've had a kangaroo tour. And we're going to have one this year. Well, there's talk now that Pino and Payne Haas and the other guy, are going to go play for Samoa.
Yeah.
Good on them. I don't have a problem with it. Like the last test match I saw in New Zealand was at Eden Park when Tonga beat Australia a couple of years ago. Yeah. I think that's great. I think, I really think, if they're going to get test football going, the calendar's got to change somewhere, because people at my age and when we grew up, you wanted to play for New Zealand.
Yeah.
You wanted to play for New Zealand. And you had that rivalry with Australians, with commies. That's not there now. Like, I watch guys now smile and shake and all that. Like, if we lost or did something stupid, you didn't put your hand up, but you just look for a hole to fall into. But, it's just because blokes are playing with each other at club level and against each other at club level, when it comes around to a test match, it's just like playing against your best mate, where there was that love-hate in our era in the 70s, the 60s. I can remember listening to blokes like Roger Bailey and then with team talks and that, like the language was quite good, It was, they're only Aussies and, they're only Pongs and, had that. And they were the same. But that's not there now. So, as I said, I don't have a problem with expansion. I think we're probably a bit late on expansion, but I just wonder where the players are going to come from.
We'll find out. I guess.
I guess we will, Dave.
Papua New Guinea probably have a lot of people they can bring up from their PNG Hunters side from the Queensland Cup. Then they might graduate to NRL level. But I assume they'll manage to sign a few guys because it's like tax-free money. They'll sign some players, but it'll be so interesting. I'm curious. I'm curious.
But they won't have the problem. That's why these blokes still playing when they're 36, 37 today.
I know. It's crazy.
So
it's getting old.
I know I had enough at 31, and I was only a back. I wasn't a forward. But I'd had enough at 31. So I don't know how these blokes keep going. So,
funny.
But I suppose it's pretty hard to get that sort of money anywhere else working 9 to 5. So
exactly.
Right,
man. Right. 2 more questions. What's your favourite TV show or movie? Do you get into movies or TV shows?
Oh yeah, I'm just watching I'm watching a good TV series at the moment called Hit and Run. That's a good show. Right into the movies, I'm a bit of a movie buff. I like the old one. Like I like Dances with Wolves and Braveheart and all those sort of movies. Yeah, good shows. Yeah, but I'm into the movies and I'm into I'm watching this series now on Netflix. It's called Hit and Run. It's a good show. Yeah, good movie.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah, good
I'll look
show.
it up.
And the other one that was good I just watched was that Untamed. Have you seen that? That's a series with that Eric Barno. That's not a bad show. That's a good series too. So
okay.
Yeah, but so yeah, I don't mind watching a good series.
Good stuff.
Actually, I was saying the British golf was on. I watched the golf. I watched a lot of golf on the TV. Probably saved a bit last week because I switched from the rugby league to golf. So, which is terrible, isn't it? Say that. But anyway, I think the Warriors are over in a couple of weeks, so I've got to see Mark Tukey and see if he can organise me a ticket. I'll go to that game for playing the Titans. So I go down there and have a bit of a bo peep and. Young Witts, he's good. So Aaron,
good man.
Probably the three of us will catch up. Yeah, good bloke, real good bloke. So the three of us will probably catch up. But see, I didn't know those guys. Now I've got to know them through Figs and other things. So I love it. And it's good. It's good catching up with. Keeps me young.
Yeah, man. Right, last question. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be? What's your favourite food?
One meal.
Yep. What's your favourite?
Muslim curry.
Okay.
So I like Indian. So Indian's good. But I got a nice Thai restaurant down the road. She's all right. So she looks after me. Or looks after us. We're probably never away from the joint. No, I like Thai. Thai and Indian, I guess, are my best ones. Yeah, Thai. Yeah, I still have the odd Chinese, but there used to be steak, eggs, and chips once, but now it's all changed. I love me roast dinner. I love roast. But, if I go out, it's normally a Thai or an Indian.
Beautiful, mate. I love both of those too. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast and going way back in the day. I've learned a lot, and it's just great to hear the stories and keep them alive. And mate, I just appreciate your time. It's been fantastic.
Dave, I appreciate it. I really do. It's great. I love it. I guess it's an honour to still be thought of, really, because. It's been a long time, but, as I said, I've met some wonderful people. It's been very kind to me, and I really appreciate your time this morning. And I'm sorry about the little bit of a hassle we had trying to hook up, but, it's been fantastic. And if you're over this way, make sure you call me, and I'll catch up for sure, so that's not a problem.
Absolutely.
I'll get you a Figs t-shirt and a cap. Figs polo and a cap. You can wear that on your show.
That'd be great.
Yeah. That'll keep you going for a while. But when you're over, just let me know. I'd love to catch up.
All right, mate. Well, thank you so much, and thanks for everyone out there for watching. I've been your host, Dave. This has been the one and only Bernie Lowther. We've been back in the day, and we'll see you next time for Kickoff.
Full time.